All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome to part 2. We are going to be working with some text in this. I did want to say I figured out what was going on with the gradient. I hadn't actually used a gradient from the Adobe Color Themes site before, and it looks like these gradients are supported in Photoshop and not Illustrator for some reason. And if I had been patient and listened to the message, it says, library gradients are not supported in Illustrator. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's fine. There's lots of options to work with gradients in Illustrator anyways, so it's all good. Okay, so we are going to look at using text a little bit, and then we're going to get back to looking at stroke profiles and gradients from Illustrator, a little bit about patterns in the appearance panel as we kind of move through a few things here. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and lay down some text. Our text tool is right here. It's the big T for text. And I'm just going to drag and pull a box. You're always going to get this lorem ipsum. I actually can't remember what that means. I looked it up once, and I think it's basically just in Latin, like we don't know what to put here yet or something. It's placeholder. So I'm just going to go ahead and type a sentence here and say, I am learning about color and text today. This is very exciting. Hopefully I didn't spell anything wrong. Yep, I did. I'm missing a G. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, and let's take a look at some of our font options. So what we can do is just go to our properties panel, and if you click on your font options here, you can see there are many. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll through here. I'm going to choose something. Well, you actually have a couple of filters, so let me talk about these. If you hover over these, you can see that you have font families in terms of the base style. So here's your sans serif. You have ones with serifs, slab serifs, handwritten, oh, what does this one say? Monospaced and decorative. I'm going to go ahead and choose the sans serif family. Oh, no results found. That's weird. Okay, how about this? I guess we'll go with serifs. So I'm going to choose Mighty Slab 1, I suppose. And we're going to do a couple of different things here. So you're going to adjust your font size. Now this is very similar to, a word processing. So if you've never worked with text before in Adobe Illustrator, you've definitely probably worked with a word processor before of some kind. So let's go ahead and just make that a little bit larger. And so that it's over, it's a couple of different lines. So one of the very, very basic things here, I'm going to just take my properties panel and rip it off here. One of the very, very basic things that people make, I guess, rookie mistakes on is adjusting their tracking and their leading, okay? These are really important. And our assignments, you're going to start working with text pretty much right away after those tutorials. So it's really important that you adjust tracking and leading. So when I look at this as a statement, I'm going to back it out a little bit, and I imagine that being printed. Well, first of all, this isn't a very readable font. It really shouldn't be a font that you would use to type a couple of sentences for somebody to read, actually. But the first thing that I notice about it is that there's too much space between these lines. It looks awkward. They're too far away from each other, so they don't feel like they're grouped together necessarily. So we're going to go ahead and adjust the leading here, and that's just right here. This is how much space is between your lines of text, okay? Now that's looking a little bit better and a little bit more grouped together. The other thing that we can adjust is how close or far away the letters are from one another, and that's your tracking. That's going to be right here. And you see how it's slowly moving these away from each other? These are two very important adjustments that people easily ignore, but those are your very, very basic design elements of text. Two design decisions that are very important among many, many other things. So I'm kind of looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit hard to read. Decorative fonts, even though this was technically in the serifs, they're great to make a statement or a heading, but they're really hard to read. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm actually going to clear this filter completely because I want to just see what I have access to. Unless I've really changed my mind about the style of this text. The thing about choosing a font is the style of the font needs to support the theme and information in the content that you're delivering, okay? And a lot about this class is choosing fonts that support your content and communication, and also choosing color that supports the meaning and mood behind your content and imagery as well, okay? It's the very, very basics of visual communication design. So let me see. I decided I wanted to be a little bit more light. Let me look at the script. Oh, this looks good. I cannot enunciate. I'll probably embarrass myself, so I'm not going to try. Okay, so I've decided, you know what? The way that my content is going to look and the digital assets that I'm using, the vector artwork and the stock imagery that I'm using, it's more light, it's more laid back, it's calm, it's slowly been crafted, which lends to more of a cursive script font. And I've just decided that this is the perfect font. But I don't really like the color of it, so we're going to go ahead and change the color. Now, as we're going through this tutorial, you follow along with me, but choose whatever you want. You can type whatever sentence you want. You can choose whatever fonts you want as I'm kind of going through. I'm just trying to kind of show you, the very basics of choice and all this. So I'm going to go and I'm going to choose my dark blue from one of the swatches that I added for this project. Okay, cool. This is great. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone. And let's go ahead and start a new text box. And this time I'm going to pretend like, I'm going to have this headline, and the headline is going to be boom. Like so. And so I'm looking at the scripted font and I'm thinking, this doesn't fit. The content that I'm going to be delivering is, let's say it's going to be of a nature that's more on the technology side. It needs to be a large visual statement. It needs to be very thick lettering and very, very bold. And I want it to be really, really tall. So what are we going to do? All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look at my filter. You can also star your favorite fonts as well, which is probably going to be really useful. There's this joke in design where, designers have access to 200 to a million fonts or whatever, and they really only use like 5 or 6. And that's true. You get the fonts that you like and that you're used to, and you kind of stick to those. So I'm going to go ahead and click on sans serif, and it looks like it's filtering that for me fine now. I don't know why it wasn't working earlier, but that always tends to happen. Happens to us all. So I'm going to kind of scroll through here and look for one. I want it to be like boxy, not a lot of round corners, because I really want it to make a statement. And, the roundness of letters suggests playfulness and something a little bit more soft. And I want this to be like really hard and visually loud. So I'm not really seeing anything here. These are all a little more plain than I was thinking. So what I need to do is probably shut this filter off and go to my decorative. So this is just a short header statement, so I can go decorative with this. So let me kind of go through here. I know I have some more like technology based. Here's kind of a pixelated look. Ooh, what about this one? This could work. I like the style of it. It's boxy, but it's a little bit playful. It's got some playfulness in the different sizes. But my main problem is that I need it to be taller. And if I look over here, I don't really have an option for it to be taller. So, oh, here's your kerning option, just by the way. So again, we have leading, tracking, and then kerning, which is the space between two characters. Sometimes in fonts, like you have like a V and an A, for example, that are too close to one another. So this will just adjust the two fonts that you have chosen. Let's go ahead and try that. So I'm choosing these two. To auto or 0. Oh, it's not letting me adjust that. You know what? It's okay. We don't need to worry about that right now. Okay. So anyways, go back to Boom. I want Boom to be really tall. Well, I don't really have a way to adjust this font to be taller. Well, how can I further manipulate this? I mean, if I highlight it and I just make it bigger, it doesn't really help me. It's just making it wider. And, I don't know what to do with that. Well, what you can do is you can transform this text into a vector path. And what this does is it turns it into vector artwork just like everything else. And this is very useful. Now, once you turn it into a vector object, you can't go back. You can't turn it back into text, but that's okay. You could just, if you need to, like let's say you decided to have, 3 zeros or 3 O's in Boom instead of 4 O's, you can just create another text, or you need it to say something different or whatever. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and turn this into some vector artwork, and I'm going to show you how that all works. So with this selected, I've got my selection tool selected over here. I am going to go to Object. I'm going to go to Path. Oh, actually, I take it back. We're going to go to Type. Sorry. We're going to go to Type, and we're going to go to Create Outlines, okay? And this can also be Shift and Command or Control O. So go ahead and hit Create Outlines, and you're going to see that the wireframe box has changed. Now let's go into our Layers panel and see what's going on here. Here is Boom. Now it's called Group. I'm going to go ahead and double click that, and I'm going to rename it Boom so that I know what it is. And I'm actually going to, let me change the size of these for you all. I think I did that in the last tutorial so you can see them a little better. And sometimes I just like to do this when I'm working on projects because I like to see the icon a little bit easier. So what you can do to make those bigger is you click on this option right here. You go to Panel Options. And then you can choose large or other. I'm just going to double these in size and make them 40 pixels. You can see it makes it much larger here. So let me rip off the Layers panel. Let's see what's going on with Boom. So Boom is a group, and you can see that Boom, each letter is its own path, and it's grouped together here. Okay, so we got a group situation. All right, perfect. So with the group selected, it's the wrong group, this group. With Boom, now I can take this and I can just drag it down, and I can get that really tall lettering that I was hoping for. And I can just manipulate this as though it was artwork. And then what I can do is with the direct selection tool, I can choose these letters And let me go ahead. I'm going to actually drag these back over because I've got a lot going on. I'm going to go into the swatches and I'm going to select colors from my palette here. And I'm going to have to reuse, let's see, I think we'll do this one. We'll reuse dark blue at the end. And then our exclamation points can be these two colors, I guess. Okay. So now I've got this much taller font. I've taken this font and I've manipulated it. I made it a lot taller and I've applied color in a dynamic way to really draw some attention to this boom. So this boom is big and loud, but it's also playful from the color swatch that I've used here. We've got some warm and cool colors mixed together, so there's lots of excitement and contrast in terms of the colors. So you can really, you want to make sure that your fonts that you're choosing are going to fit your content, and you can, do a lot of stuff. So I'm going to do one more thing here quick. So I'm just going to kind of move these up and out of the way. Take boom, get my regular selection tool. The other thing that's really nice with this is I'm going to take the phrase, "This is very exciting," and I'm going to Command or Control copy that. I'm going to create a new text box down here, and I'm going to paste that. And we're going to choose a new font. So we go to Properties. And I don't know, I'm going to pick, I'm going to clear this, and I'm just going to pick something regular. This is not very exciting. It's kind of a boring font for what it's saying, but that's okay. So what I want to do is I want to say this is very exciting, but I want to be able to manipulate things here. So if I go, "This is very exciting," I'm going to select this with my selection tool, and I go to type and then create outlines. Okay, so now this is artwork object. This is no longer text. If I go to my layers panel, ta-da, you can see that I've got the group here. But I want to group these words together in their own groups. Okay, I don't want them all grouped together like this necessarily. So what I'm going to do is select the group, and we're going to ungroup it. So I'm going to go to Object, I'm going to go to Ungroup. And what you see in your layers panels, these are no longer in a group together. They're in layer 1, but they're all solo, okay? So when you click on them, they're all individual now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to marquee select this, and I'm going to hit Command or Control G. You can also go to Object and Group. That's the long way to do it. We've already done this, right? So we're going to go Group. You can see this is now in a group. Go Is, Group, Very, Group, Exciting, Group. Okay. I'm kind of feeling like I don't really like how Very is looking. So I'm going to just select that little group and I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to say Very, but I want a new font for this word because what I'm doing is I want to create emphasis on Very. And then it will become very exciting. So we go to Properties. I think I want something scripted because I don't want it to scream. I want it to be like, this is very, like, fancy, right? A little bit sophisticated, maybe something like this. That's a little bit hard to read. Oh, it's got to feel like a bit exciting, though. Exciting but sophisticated. I don't know, maybe this one. You can see how very easily you can be in a rabbit hole and be working with fonts forever. It's very easy to do that. Okay, so there it is. I'm going to choose this one. And I'm going to go ahead and create outlines for it and make it an object just because my other text is. So I'm going to go to type, create outlines. Again, you can do Shift, Command, or Control, exclamation point. We're going to go ahead and fill it with a warm, maybe the more orange-ish color. And then I'm going to play around with this. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold my Shift key down and drag this out and make it big. And you have to kind of imagine with text too how people are going to read it. So you can be playful with how you stack it, but ultimately right to left, since that's how we read English, is how you want to go. So I'm going to be playful with this. I want exciting to be on top of very because I want it to catch the Y, and but I want it to be overlapped in the right way. So I'm going to go to layers. I'm going to take very and just drag it down underneath exciting. I'm actually going to bump this E over because if I have it like this, one thing that you have to be really careful of is contrast. And so with color, it's easy to accidentally not create enough contrast. So like this dark orange and this dark blue, they actually, if you were to flip them to grayscale, are pretty much the same shade, but they're just different colors. And that's often a bad sign of contrast for readability. I kind of liked the E totally overlapping the end of the Y, but I don't think it has enough contrast. So my two choices are to make this lighter so that there's more contrast, like maybe choose this color, or I'm just going to bump this over a bit so that the E is just overlapping a bit, but it's still very readable. So I might just kind of leave it like that. So now what I've done is I've taken this sentence, I've made it very playful. I've got two different fonts. Very is emphasized in a particular way. There's a personality about it. I'm conveying a mood and tone with the type of font that I've chosen. And let's say I come in here and I'm like, you know, these letters are a little bit too far apart. I probably should have adjusted the tracking when I was in there, but I didn't. But what I'm going to do is the Y is at the end, so I'm going to select directly the R, and I'm just going to arrow it over a bit and just do this manually, which is probably something I should have done before I converted it. But hey, there's luckily in these design applications, there's many different ways to come to the same conclusion. So, okay, this is very exciting. All right, so I think that's all we're going to do on this particular artboard. We're going to still look at gradients, patterns, and stroke profiles here shortly, but we will go ahead and stop here. So do make sure you save your file. You know, you may be continuing on to the next video, but it's always good to save along the way. And we will be doing more stuff. So I will see you in the next video. All right, bye everyone.